Well, I know it's been a while, and it's been a year, a crazy year, and now we're in a new year. But I have, last year, I think, when I was thinking about just the year, it's just summing it up, there were a lot of things that happened, a lot of really great things. And one of the really great things that happened was falling down completely, totally down the rabbit hole of English paper piecing, of Hexies. And I've made, some of you may have seen, I posted, I had created a little Christmas ornament just to commemorate this year, 2020, so that we find something that was good that came of this year. And this was definitely one of those things. And then I got to thinking about all the things that I've learned, and how this journey into Hexies did not just begin in 2020. It began back in 2014, and it was a visit to Norton's Quilting, the Norton House, in Vermont, a quilter's paradise. And I had been seeing women with hexie quilts, and I'd go in a coffee shop and there'd be someone working on hexies, and I was really intrigued. I thought, well, I'll just get a packet of these little papers and then I'll be good to go. And I wasn't. It took a long time to approach these little hexie papers. And then I think even before that, okay, I'm going to probably chase a lot of rabbits, but y'all know that about me. Back in 2011 was when I had created my little mouse. I had made Little Mouse. I had started blogging. We moved into the little Victorian cottage in Franklin, Tennessee, and I was just, I couldn't get to crafts fast enough. Quilting and knitting, and I had taught myself to knit and all these things that I wanted to do, and I wanted to make a quilt. And I had a Dresden plate quilt on our bed, and I thought, well, I'll just make one of those and I'll just get some fabric. And I had discovered cabbages and roses. Well, they were all the way in the UK, and I thought, I can't, I don't know how to get them to here. It was a tedious process. But I Googled cabbages and roses, and I found cabbages and roses quilting fabric by Moda. And so I got a packet of that. I didn't know what a bundle or a fat quarter or a rolls, or I don't know what, but I got a pack of that. Well, I just drew out a little stencil, and I just cut out, and I had my treadle sewing machine, and clackety clackety. And I made the biggest mess. As my mother says, I just boogered it all up. And I thought, I was so totally disappointed in myself. I put it all away, all those plates of all that mess. I just packed them away in a tub. Now let me fast forward a little bit back to the little papers. When I finally got some nerve, I thought we had gotten this little sofa, and I thought I'll just kind of mirror what that pattern is with those papers. And I had some gorgeous Liberty of London fabrics that I had gotten. I'd made little Sophia an Easter dress out of this one with Alice in Wonderland theme. And so I made that one. I thought, okay, I don't have enough Liberty of London, but that was fun and that was great, but I don't know what I'm going to do with that. So then I thought, I had some Tilda fabrics. I had some, no, what was it that I had some Tilda fabrics. And so I thought, well, I'll make some of those. Well, then this last year, I found, and I had 3 of those flowers. I didn't know what to do with them. Then I discovered the Strawberry Thief. I don't know, it was middle of the night, and I came across these videos, these tutorials on hexie quilts. Well, then I just wanted an entire hexie quilt, scrappy, made of all of the Liberty of London fabrics, but I still had this to work on. So I ordered some more fabrics. I ordered some more little things that I thought would go. And I added in some of the cabbages and roses fabric that I had left over from the debacle of the Dresden plate quilt. And then I thought, oh, little Dot needs this. Little Dot needs a blankie, just like I had made one for Sophia. So I have finished this one, and it will go to her next weekend. So this is why I was prompted to make this now, so I can get it in while I still have the quilt. So I have hand quilted it. I've learned so much along the way. I'm a girl that has right now-itis. I have a really bad case of it, and when I decide I want to make something, sometimes I don't always wait for the directions or the tutorials or I don't get the directions, and I just go for it. But I have found in doing that, and this is what brought me to this too. I was talking to my husband last night, and I said, I sent my son up into the attic. I said, could you get that tub up there? It says fabric across the top. And could you just bring that down for me? And I found all those Dresden plates, and they were a mess. And can I just tell you, if it makes you feel better about yourself, it was horrible. And I started just taking it apart, just, going through with my little scissors, snipping the seams and pulling it all apart. And then taking those pieces and taking some 3/4 inch hexie papers. And look what I made of it. This is all the Cabbages and Roses by Moda. They look like little candies in that little box. And thank you, Ben, for my little handkerchief box. It's a little sweet Christmas present. And I have my little thimble in here that fits just right. And I thought I'd lost it the other day. It fits just right so I can push the needle through when I was going mad to finish that. And I thought, look what a beautiful thing that came from that big old mess. And sometimes we think, gosh, there is no salvaging this horrible mess. But there is. There's just, if there is, just go for it. Try to make something from the mess and make it a better thing. And don't just dwell on, oh, I failed at that miserably and I put it away and I'm not trying it again. Salvage it. There's things that are salvageable. Friendships, relationships, old dress patterns that you messed up, old projects that you painted it wrong, and paint over it. Do it again. Start over. Take a breath. Maybe it takes you 9 years of it sitting up in the attic, or 20 years, or that book that you were going to write, or that thing that you were going to do. Don't be afraid to go back and resurrect it and see, with more knowledge and more wisdom, oh, I can make this right now. And so I had thought, well, I'll start another project because I finished this. In the meantime, I went and searched and found all of my Liberty of London fabric that I could find, and I started making hexies. And that's why I showed a picture the other night in a cute little basket. Well, I had to expand. And so I have all of these that are ready. And I've got my scissors, my little snippy ones. These are the Karen K. Buckley scissors that Robin of the Strawberry Thief. Y'all, can I just tell you, maybe I inspire you to do something. I'm not perfect at it, and I'm still learning. But let me point you in the direction of. And she doesn't know me that I'm doing this or anything, but she's wonderful. And there are other women on Instagram in this community that are such inspiration, and they don't even realize it. And I'm hoping I can tag some of those people that when I need a boost, or I think, oh, there's inspiration, maybe I could do that. Those are the women that I go to, and the Nikki Franklins and the, oh my goodness, there's a Carolyn Johnson, and her quilts just inspire me. And I don't think she even knows who I am. but her quilts prompted this little Cabbages and Roses with the reds and blues and pinks and greens, and I'm excited about that one. So because I started this, then I had to order some more fabric. So in Australia is where the Strawberry Thief is, and Robin, and I've pre-ordered it's the classics. I think that's the Tantalon made out of, it's an organic line. And so the patterns were so sweet. And so I just pre-ordered that bundle, and I don't even know how big I'm still learning things, but I just thought I'll order that. And I've also ordered the binding for this. It will arrive on Wednesday, and I'm hoping it will match up. It's a kind of a peachy pink binding. So in the meantime, I thought I had all these, this summer, I don't know if some of you remember, I created a little, it was the Hexies and Holly Hobby cushion kit that I created, and I had gathered and curated all these little fabrics from the 70s and 80s that were reminiscent of Holly Hobby in that era. And so I had made these. Well, I took those fabrics, I had leftovers of that from that project, and I thought, for really old Bear, she really needs a Grandma's Flower Garden quilt. Well, I'm not going to point it out. I won't point it out because my mother-in-law said, if you didn't point it out, no one would ever know the hexie that I failed to add in here, so it got it wonky. But when I photograph it and I put Tucker in her bed, nobody ever knows. So it was practice. And so the thing that I guess I want to tell you is, I was talking to my mother about it, that I just jump in head first, and that's a blessing and a curse. It's kind of jumping in with no fear. And then you're learning to swim along the way, and you're paddling around, and you learn things so that then when you do hear the tutorials, you can hear, maybe you heard them before, but it didn't make sense. But once you dive in and you get your hands dirty and you get into it and you're stitching and you think, oh, that does not work at all. Or, oh, yes, that's what she was talking about. It rings a bell. And so whichever way you go about it, maybe you're a planner and you gather all your materials and you do everything just in order, and I envy you. I go dive in and I try my hand at it, and then I step back and think, okay, now what have I learned? And then I write it down what I learned. Are you ready? Okay. Let me find the page because I made lots of notes. I was sitting in my classroom the other day during the break. Okay, here's the thing. Make up all your hexies. Just get a big batch of them. Like, I wasn't gonna start on these. I was gonna get all my Liberty of London hexies, and I was not gonna touch it. I was not gonna make a flower at all. But they were so pretty and I couldn't help it. So I just made 2. Oh, and I'm gonna tell you, this is well, I've got it in my hand and you're wondering what am I swinging around. This is the Sew Line glue pen. I used to be a baster for my hexies, and then Robin introduced this, and y'all, it makes life so much easier. And I'm a cut and paste kind of girl, and I love making things, and I loved paper dolls, and I think that's why I love this so much. It's that kind of that paper dolls and cut and paste and stitch and all those things I loved. So this is what I've made a couple of these. And so the way Robin does her hexie quilts, they're like this big scrappy quilt. So it's not like the Grandma Flower Garden where you have the white in between, which I love this. I love my sofa. But I just love the look of, and if you go to her page or you go to her tutorials, oh, it just feeds me, the patterns. And it's all about, it's a palette. It's no different than a paint palette, or when I get a kit from Nikki and the little card, Nikki Franklin, and all the threads and the palette of those for that project, I just sit and just love, that just feeds me. And in this time of lockdowns and shutdowns and stay at home and stay safe and lose your mind because you're not seeing people, you can't hug your family, there's so many things you cannot do. This, working with my hands, has saved my sanity. I was going to say it saved my life. It might as well. It saved my sanity, which has saved my life. The stressors, and here's the other thing. Some of us are going through so many things, we can't even speak it. We can't even tell it. No one would believe it. And we have a smile on our face, and people think, well, everything's just dandy with her. Oh, you have no idea the times we cry ourselves to sleep, or the stress that we think it's going to suffocate me. And we take a breath, and you have something that you can dive into, and it's not a frivolous thing. It's a very chemical thing, response to working with your hands. And I've said this over and over as many times as I can. It increases the endorphins, and the endorphins create a sense of joy and peace and of well-being, all those things. So if I'm like stitching like mad on the weekends and I can't even look at lesson plans or think about school because I have to remove myself, take a break and breathe. Right now I'm on a kind of a sabbatical of sorts from making, and I did, so you might not see mousies on my Etsy shop. I did get an order from Jen in New York, and so I've got a couple little mousies that I stitched yesterday, and they're going to be they're waiting on their tutus and their tiaras, and then they'll go to New York. So I'm kind of just needing to step away from all the things because the stressors in every other area I need to be doing something that is recreational, that I'm not getting paid for, that it's not a custom order, it's not something somebody's buying or they're asking me to make. This is purely for therapy. It's therapeutic. Okay, so the other thing I learned, so first of all, make up as many as you can. The reason is you're going to gather fabrics from around, and if you've just made a whole bunch of them and they're all the same fabrics, it's hard to blend them out and have lots of options instead of them all looking kind of cookie cutter, the same fabrics. So that's the reason, and I'm a why person. You have to give me a good reason why, or I just don't believe you. I need good reasons. So thank you, Robin, for giving us good reasons. The other thing, and you'll see I have different, like I have the Cabbages and Roses by Moda. I have, did I set them somewhere else? Oh, I know, I put them in this little basket. This is the Tilda fabrics. I have, there was a range of, it was Apple Blossom, I think, and they were so pretty. So I keep those together. The thing is that I realized on this blanket, I was mixing up the Liberty of London and the Cabbages and Roses by Moda and the Tilda fabrics, which the Tilda and the Cabbages and Roses is about the same weight, but it threw it off throwing in the Liberty of London as far as I was concerned. Now, some of you I know do that and you mix it all up and blend it, but I could tell when I was piecing together, like when you are going to join, you're going to stitch your little hexies and you line them up. When you have that Tanalon fabric on one and the cotton, the Moda, the Tilda on the other, by the time you stitch around, your flower, it might be a little off, and then you have to pull it together so it's going to pucker, which I'm all about the pucker. The pucker is adorable. It's just, if you want a more even, smooth, uniform product at the end, that's what I'm realizing is something I've learned. So I am going to just use the Liberty of London Tanalon on that quilt, and it'll be scrappy, and it won't be a grandma's flower garden. The other thing is make all your flowers before you start piecing them together. That's the other thing, because you're going to want to stretch them out. You don't want two things butting up that are the same. And if you start stitching right away because you got right nowitis and you want to see progress, I'm just telling you, just hang on, trust me on this, so that you can map it out. Sometimes you would see me, I would post, and it was like, I've mapped out my Saturday. I had it looked like a map. Okay, I'm seeing the time here, and I'm going to start winding it down and wrap it up. The other thing, the big thing is, when you finish your topper, cut off those edges, baste it to your batting. It's going to move all over the place. And what I thought I'll stitch in the middle, I'll start working out. It has shifted on the back on that muslin back. Baby Dot won't care. I know she won't, and it's a baby quilt, and it won't make a difference. But it's these things that we learn the hard way. We think it's easier just going ahead and doing it, and it's actually harder because you either have to undo or go back and try. I don't know. There's lots of other tips that I've learned, but those you can learn on some of the other tutorials. I just hope maybe I've inspired you to do something to get you through these trying, stressful times. And if you have to step away from some things and kind of put up some boundaries and just say, this is self-care, do that. All right, I'm going to let you go, and I will see you next time, whenever that is. And I'm thankful for Cabbages and Roses that makes just yummy, that I can order them now and get them here in the States. And it's comfort. Take care, friends. Bye.